Hi, I'm Neil Garfield, editor and author of www.livinglies.wordpress.com, a blog site devoted to provide you with resources and information on foreclosure defense and other types of mortgage litigation. Today we're going to talk about yield spread premiums. Many of you may have heard the term used. I doubt if many people actually understand what it is. So I'm going to start with explaining each term. First, a yield is the amount expressed in either dollars or percentage that comes from an investment. So, for example, if you were to purchase a bond in the marketplace for $1,000 and you were receiving $50 per year as interest on that bond, then the yield on that bond would be $50, and that would be 5% of $1,000. So the yield would be expressed as either 5% or $50. A yield spread occurs when there are two different loans. And basically, the yield spread premium, as you'll learn in a moment, is a device used in the marketplace, and it has been used for quite some time, by which the seller of a financial product steers you into a second product which is not as good for you as the first, but it's better for somebody else. So, for example, put it in plain language, if you have a 5% loan that you qualify for and your mortgage broker steers you into a 7% loan, so you're going to be paying higher interest, it's worse for you, better for the lender. The lender pays the mortgage broker an extra fee, usually under the table, which is called a yield spread premium. The spread is 2% in the example I just gave you. You have a 7% loan and a 5% loan. The difference between 7% and 5% is 2. That 2% doesn't sound like much. But when you multiply it times an average loan of, say, $200,000, that 2% is $4,000 a year, which over the life of a 30-year loan is $120,000. Therefore, the broker gets a commission based upon the present value of that $120,000. So this first yield spread premium, which has existed for decades, is something which the mortgage brokers have feasted on. It's supposed to be disclosed to you in the good faith estimate and in your final HUD settlement statement at the closing, and usually isn't, and is frequently the grounds for clawing back some money from the lender and potentially treble damages or interest and attorney's fees, etc. But there is a second yield spread premium which is largely unknown. It arose during the time that mortgage loans were securitized. The securitizing of a loan simply means that they convert it from just being a loan to being a security. That's why they call it securitization. The securitization of the loan causes a second sale to occur before it actually gets to the source of funding. Who's the source of funding on your loan when your loan has been securitized? Well, the source of funding is an investor or a group of investors who advanced money and received a bond, a mortgage-backed security, which gave them ownership, some percentage ownership in your loan and many others. When they bought that pool of loans that included your loan, they paid a spread, but they weren't told that. In other words, if they put up $1 million, the investment bankers on Wall Street, for example, might have only used $500,000 to fund mortgages. And the way they were able to do that is through the yield spread. The investor, thinking that they were getting a AAA rated investment security, investment grade security, based upon a Moody's rating or S&P, and insured by our famous AIG friends, was prepared to accept a return of perhaps 5 or 6%, which was 1 or 2% higher than they could ordinarily get. But the loan pool that the investment banker sold to the investors contained many loans that included ninja loans, no income, no job, no assets, sometimes resetting to as much as 18%. If you put pen to paper and watch this video perhaps a couple of times, you'll realize that at the very beginning, I made a point of saying that you could express the yield in either dollar terms or percentage terms. So if the investor parted with $1 million to buy the bonds and was expecting a 5% return, and the investment banker went out and got very poor quality loans with an average of 10% interest, the investment banker only had to use half of the money from the investor to fund the mortgages necessary to get the 5% that the investor was looking for. Now that sounds confusing, I'm sure, but watch the numbers. If the investor gave $1 million and was looking for a 5% return, he was looking for $50,000. But if the investment banker gave out only $500,000 in funding for loans at 10%, there's your $50,000, 10% of $500,000. So the investment banker sells the $500,000 loan to the investor for $1 million and pockets $500,000 as a yield spread. In that case, the yield spread premium is roughly equivalent to the yield spread itself. In the first instance, where the old yield spread premium was paid, the bank or lender would have paid the mortgage broker a little kickback or an extra bonus of a few $1,000s for having steered you into a higher yielding loan. In the second instance, the sale itself is unknown to both the borrower and the investor, and only the investment banker knows. So what the investment banker does is create this spread, and while there are some monies that are taken out of that spread in order to cover the investment with credit default swaps, insurance, and with reserves, the bulk of the money went to the investment banker and frequently can be found offshore in a structured investment vehicle.